Earlier on Friday night, some great things happening in our community on the gridiron as the West Bloomfield Lakers snapped that losing streak in the OAA Red Division, picked up their first divisional win of the season in dramatic fashion against the Lake Orion Dragons with an emphatic 49-41 victory over Lake Orion. Joining me now for more analysis on an exciting game we had on Friday night is our color commentator for West Bloomfield Lakers live football coverage on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Matt Catoni, thanks for being with us.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on, especially happy to have you on after a Laker victory on Friday night, and arguably the most impressive performance of the season, even beyond 2 weeks ago in that shutout against Southfield A&T at home and the opening week shutout against Chippewa Valley. This was unique because it's against some of the best competition in the state.
Yeah, and it was really a game that they needed a lot of things, not just to win, but they needed to show some life on offense. Because in a lot of their losses in the OAA Red, specifically against Rochester Adams and Clarkston, we saw the offense kind of disappear in the second half. This week, we obviously did not see that as they were down 28-14 at one point, and they come back and win this game with, 7 touchdowns at the end of the day. And it was just a phenomenal performance by the offense, and I'm excited to see how they operate going forward, considering how well the passing game and Bo Jackson looked.
Yeah, and Bo Jackson had the game of the season for himself, 10 for 15 passing, 199 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Really the only lone blemish or blemishes that were present in the passing game were a couple of dropped passes on open throws. Really, those were kind of just excitement drops from receivers, getting the football, moving a little too early, and it slides out of their hands before they secure the ball. And other than that, for Bo specifically, that one interception that was a pick 6 at the end of the half, the lone blemish for what was otherwise a back-to-back flawless game from number 8.
Yeah, I mean, playing a top 15 team in the state in Lake Orion, you can't ask for a better offensive game. The pass game was efficient, and the run game was dominant from start to finish. So it's, again, this week, yeah, they don't necessarily have a chance to win the OAA Red, but they can play spoiler to Oxford this week, who's looking to, if Clarkston loses this week and they beat West Bloomfield at the Swamp, Oxford wins the OAA Red. So it's going to be interesting to see how West Bloomfield tries to come out and play spoiler.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing here is that West Bloomfield won't win the Red outright in 2024, but they can actually win the OAA Red still in this scenario. If Clarkston beats Lake Orion on Friday and West Bloomfield beats Oxford, as you said, then that creates a different situation. Where Oxford beats West Bloomfield, Clarkston beats Lake Orion, Oxford wins the OAA Red outright. However, if West Bloomfield beats Oxford, Lake Orion beats Clarkston on Friday night, we'd have a 5-way tie for the OAA Red Division Championship. And I talked to Eric Pierce over the weekend. He said in the OAA Red Division, and in the OAA in general, there is no tiebreaker in the case of a regular season championship tie. So there's a chance that we could have all 5 teams in the OAA Red be able to claim the regular season championship. But back to what happened on Friday night in that 49-41 victory for the Lakers. Bo Jackson was excellent, but really the player of the game, it was the Josh Tate game out there for him. 27 carries for 205 yards, and as you said, Matt, 4 of those 7 Laker touchdowns.
Yeah, and again, what was on display more than anything was just that his will to just maintain runs and just keeping his legs moving at the point of contact and just keeping those yards or getting those yards after contact. He's the life force of this Lakers offense at this point. And as long as he's able to get things going in the run game to start off the game, I believe that we'll be able to see a more efficient pass game as well going forward off of that.
Yeah, definitely the best rushing game of the season for the Lakers, which has set up their passing game even more. It's a team that really relies on the running game, but they got their playmakers involved. We saw a touchdown from Jaden Allos, a touchdown from Elijah Durham, a couple of big long balls to Elijah Durham also. And then what was really impressive also offensively was getting Cam Flowers involved on the running side and in the air. As you see that long ball pass to Cam Flowers late in the game. He also had 2 carries for 75 yards on the ground, 6 targets, his most of the season, a 2-point conversion reception. This was a huge game and a much needed big game for Cameron Flowers, who hasn't been too involved in the offense so far this season for a number of reasons.
Yeah, Cam Flowers was a player who last year was a tremendous player and had a huge impact on this team, or on that team that went to the state semis. This year, we haven't necessarily made the impact that he or anyone necessarily would want to see. But last week, we saw him get the most, or see the most targets that he's seen all year, and we saw the talent that he has as a player. And that's considering, those two plays where those drop passes, where one of them he for sure likely would have had a touchdown. But there's a lot there on the table for Cam Flowers. And I think if the Lakers are able to get him going, not just in the pass game, but the run game, that we'll see this offense kind of take that next step going, or step up.
Yeah, Cam Flowers had 150. So 127 all-purpose yards on Friday against Lake Orion. Came into the game with less than 100 all-purpose yards on the entire season, which is crazy to think about for a guy that led the team in those all-purpose yards offensively in 2023. So a huge game for him. Josh Tate, his 4 touchdowns against Lake Orion, doubled his season total coming in to that game on Friday night. But really what came down to for the Lakers, look, they gave up 41 points, but this defense played excellently as well, and especially at the point of attack and the point of contact.
Yeah, really, they were a very aggressive defensive and special teams unit this past week. They were flying to the football, and that's ultimately what got them back into the game. They scored the touchdown to make it a 28-21 game, and then we saw them fly down there on special teams and force a fumble to get them right back into the game. And that's one thing that throughout this season that we've seen from the defense and the special teams is just flying to the football and forcing turnovers.
Yeah, they had a few of those. Kylo Dickerson forced a fumble on a kickoff return. That was at a really consequential point. The Lakers coming out of the half, having given up a touchdown to Lake Orion, then scored one themselves to make it a 28-21 ball game. That forced fumble on the kickoff return for Lake Orion set West Bloomfield up deep in Dragon territory. They were able to tie the game, and that was the last time that game would be tied in this matchup, or at least not be in West Bloomfield's favor the rest of the way. Also, a Kalik Robinson interception in the 4th really sealed the game for the Lakers, led to that final touchdown to put them up. To put them with 49 points on the board. And even though Lake Orion got one further touchdown and a 2-point conversion attempt that was unsuccessful, wasn't going to be enough to put them in range to beat the Lakers. And Will Espy with a huge hit also in the 4th quarter, although he was penalized for it, maybe too hard of a hit. But now we got the toughest task of them all coming in this week. This one's going to be a really huge matchup because it has OAA red implications and it has playoff implications. Oxford coming in this week off of a really impressive win, 18-17 versus Adams last week.
Yeah, Oxford's coming in off of a win. They're feeling very well. And there's one thing that they do especially well, and the Lakers have struggled to an extent these matchups, and that's run the football. So with a lot on the line for Oxford this week, it's going to be interesting to see how the Lakers defense comes out and kind of counters that physicality of the Oxford offense, knowing that it's also their last home game and their best chance to punch their ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, that is certainly going to be the case. The Lakers struggling on the road, yet to win a road game in 2024, and they got a couple of tough opponents to close out the season, Birmingham, Seaholm, and Roseville, their last 2 games. But first, they got to get through Jack Hendricks, Luke Johnson, and these Wildcats in the Big Blue trap game on Friday night. Hendricks last week, unbelievable, 12 for 18 passing, 212 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. And Luke Johnson also with over 100 yards of offense and a touchdown, and defensively, 15 tackles against a very tough Adams offense, although they were without their star quarterback in Rhino Waters. Matt, before we let you go, any final thoughts from this game on Friday night and what the Lakers need to take out of this win to, A, stay confident, but also keep focused on a really tough final 3 games this regular season?
I think the biggest thing that we saw on Friday was the Lakers kind of settle into their identity on offense, a bit more refine their identity on offense. And I think going forward, that is going to be crucial as they play these stretch of teams with explosive offensive, especially Roseville. So that's going to be huge going forward. And I think if they can maintain the efficiency that they've seen from Bo Jackson, they can make some noise.
Well, we appreciate your time, Matt, in this analysis after an exciting win on Friday night, hoping for a very similarly exciting game this coming Friday as Oxford comes in for the OAA regular season finale and what could set up an historic moment in this titan of a division here in the state of Michigan. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for having me.